done quite a lot of reviews over the years on my YouTube channel. I've done quite a lot of gear reviews. I've done reviews of books. What else have I done reviews of? But I have done quite a lot of live reviews, and one thing I've noticed with my reviews is that if I'm critical or negative, they get a lot more views than if I do reviews that are complimentary about the gig or the product. Now, if you are to follow the received wisdom that if you find something successful to do on your YouTube channel, you should double down on it, that kind of made me think that I should double down on the negative reviews. But I don't really like doing negative reviews. I'm not that kind of person. I don't really like doing, you know, criticising people or confrontation or anything like that. And ultimately, these negative reviews do lead to confrontation because you get loads of people having a go at you in the comments section once you've done them. There are channels that their whole shtick is doing these kind of negative things. There's Sore Hands, he's a classical guitarist who's always criticising people, and it's all done in humour, but he just gets so much grief. You've got to be pretty thick-skinned to put up with that kind of thing. Two of my most popular videos were kind of negative reviews. I went to see the Eagles. I paid £300 to go and see them, and I discovered that Don Henley was miming. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial there. I think everybody knows that now. That video's had loads of views, and I also, at the end of last year, I went to see Bob Dylan live, and I didn't think it was very good, so I did a video about that, and of course I got a bit of a backlash on that one. But both videos got me loads and loads of views, so I thought, should I keep doing this? And I did some follow-up ones and stuff, and it's quite fun. You have got to be pretty thick-skinned. I've had a couple of different experiences as well involved with these negative reviews. Now this is one, and I should think of this before I do it, because obviously if I'm reviewing the Eagles and I'm being negative, or Bob Dylan, I'm not going to have any direct comeback, which is kind of what this video is about. But I went to see Albert Lee, and I did a review of the gig, and I reviewed the support band. Now, I wasn't negative about the support band. As I say, I don't like being negative. I said how much I like their music, but I did point out that the guitarist got quite angry about the sound and started sort of swearing and shouting at the sound man, and I put that in the video. Anyway, a few months later, I'm playing a gig myself, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Were you at the Albert Lee gig?" I said, "Yeah, I was." He went, "Oh, I was in the support band. You did a review of us, didn't you?" And I was like, "Oh no, what did I..." Anyway, it was all fine because he said, "Yeah," he goes, you were a bit negative in that review." He said, "But the funny thing is, the rest of us all agreed with you. He was being rude to the sound man." So, phew, got away with that one. The other thing, I got sent a guitar wireless system from a company to review. I tried it on a gig, because I always like to do, if I'm doing gear reviews, if it's a bit of gear I can use live, I like to show it being used in context on a gig. And this particular bit of kit, it was so terrible. I literally didn't even last a song with it. It was a guitar wireless unit. It had loads of latency. It completely killed the tone. It sounded like someone had put a pillow in front of my amp when I plugged through it. So I just immediately had to unplug it and not use it. And so I didn't want to do a negative review, because I don't want to ruin someone's business or reputation, you know, with my opinion. Not that I get loads and loads of views, but I don't like to do it anyway. So I contacted the company and I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. Thank you very much for sending me the product, but I really don't want to do a review of it." I said, because I tried it and it just didn't work. It wasn't very good. And they said, "No, we like reviews, positive and negative. Please post your video anyway." So I thought that was interesting, which brings me on to the subject of this video, which is a long rambling way of getting there, was my review I did a couple of weeks ago on Yurt Rock, as I bought one of their bundles. Now, as I say, I should have probably thought about the fact that maybe they would get in touch with me, because they're not a massive company, although I think they're quite a big company. And also, I didn't want to be negative and be rude about the product, because I thought the product was very good. So I did a review which I hoped was kind of fair and balanced, and I did have a negative point, and the negative point in the video was that I thought they were doing too much spamming and marketing. And I thought personally it was devaluing the product, because I thought the product looked really good, but because they were doing all this spammy thing, it was almost like the company was all about marketing rather than about the nitty-gritty of the product, about how good the quality product was. I thought it was devaluing it, their kind of marketing strategy. So anyway, I did this review, and you know, I'll admit it, to get clicks, I kind of hinted that there might be a negative review, but I also did that to get people to watch it. And I spent the majority of the video saying about how much I enjoyed the product, and then I did put a little bit in the end saying about the marketing. And then, lo and behold, a couple of days later, I actually got a direct response in the comments from Yurt Rock, and it was completely unexpected and absolutely brilliant. I was really pleased that they got in touch with me. So let me read you their comment. This is great. I was so surprised for a company to do this. It says, thanks for the honest feedback. We really appreciate you taking the time to share it. You're absolutely right, and we hear you. We've been leaning a bit too heavy on promotions, and that's on us. We're actively working on dialing that back and making sure what we send is more thoughtful, useful, and worth your time. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll do better. It's great, I think, because I mentioned that I actually enjoy getting these marketing emails. You know, being a gear and software nerd, I like reading all these things and getting offers and stuff like that. And I mentioned that UAD, I get loads of emails from UAD, but they're not all sales things, that they're giving you videos on how to use their products and tips and things like that, which I thought was useful, which I think is what they're referring to. So I said, thank you for watching and responding. Hope my review was constructive and fair. I intentionally put the criticism near the end. Blah, blah, blah. I haven't unsubscribed because I still like your emails. And I'm going to do a video to redress the balance, which is what I'm doing right now. And then somebody, this is my favourite bit of the whole process, somebody wrote a comment saying, this video and response from Yurt Rock made me buy a bundle. Keep up the good work. So isn't it weird? They go to all this great effort to do this sort of obvious marketing thing of, you know, sending out the sort of time constrained offers and things like that. And then what got somebody to buy it is somebody doing a slightly negative review and then them responding to it. And then they said they really appreciate it. Really appreciate this. Seriously, thanks for your thoughtful, fair review. It means a lot. We're glad you called it out the way you did, and we're already working on finding a better balance with emails. Also, great to hear the experience improved over the last few days. That's exactly what we're aiming for. I forgot to mention that's what I said in the last thing. I had noticed a difference in between filming the video and putting it out. Looking forward to your follow-up video. Hope you see this. We'd love to see how you're using everything and what's clicking for you. Thanks again for taking the time to share your perspective. So there we are. They directly responded, and they were aware. Obviously, I wasn't the first person to say this, and they have done something about it. I've been getting a lot less emails from, because the problem was, as soon as I bought this bundle, I seemed to be getting at least an email a day. Maybe I wasn't, but this was my perception of it. And it was too much. And as I say, I thought it was devaluing the product. And other people have obviously said it, and now they've dialed it back, because it is a great product. And I've been looking at buying some more, and I'm going to show you in this video how I've been using that product this week, because I had a couple of different things that I did. I showed some other examples in the previous video, but I'm going to show you how I've been using it this week. Since I made that first video, I've now been playing with the products a bit more. I've downloaded a few more of the bundles. I mean, I didn't download every single thing, because there's loads of stuff you get for your money. And I've sort of picked the things that are most appropriate, but I am going to probably eventually go through everything. And I just wanted to show you a couple of the different uses that I've used them for, completely different applications of these loops. Now, the first one, I don't know if I've mentioned it. Yes, I have mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. I wrote a radio jingle that Bruno Mars picked, listened to, and played on his TikTok live stream for the release of his latest album. This was just a few weeks ago. And part of the track that he used, I sent 5 jingles and he used one of them. There was a sort of, I layered up some percussion and stuff. Let me just show you this video just to explain. My 3 daughters have been moaning at me for about 2 weeks. I wrote this piece of music and I've been working on it. They've been hearing it coming out my studio over and over again. Here it is. Romantic Radio with Bruno Mars. But they're not moaning anymore. I'm now the coolest dad in the world. Check this out.
This is Romantic Radio with Bruno Mars. iHeartRadio album preview on TikTok and iHeartRadio.
Yes, Bruno Mars played the radio jingle that I wrote him. I've been writing radio jingles for about 10 years for a company called On The Sly, and David from On The Sly kindly asked me to be involved in this Bruno Mars project. This one was even more special. My whole family love Bruno Mars. He's my favourite artist. If I put anybody else on in the car, somebody moans. The album's only been out a few hours. I've already listened to it 5 times. It's fantastic. Check it out. And I'm going to leave you with this. Bruno talking about what inspires him, including radio jingles.
I'm inspired by everything. I'm inspired by this right now. I might write a song called Romantic Radio, or at least a jingle.
I'm sorry I had to say that. You should never name drop. Mick Jagger told me that. Anyway, I took those percussion elements from that track and I was working on one of my own songs. It's called I Like My Country A Little Funky. So it's a kind of, starts off as a country song, then it goes a bit funky, but it's got country elements in it. And as it builds, I wanted some sort of funky percussion. So I lifted those percussive elements from that Bruno Mars track I just showed you. And let me play these to you. In fact, let me play you the whole section of the track. So I've got verse, chorus, then it breaks down into this bit. I've taken the vocals off because they're not ready yet. But this is kind of how I'm building the track. So at this point we've just got congas and a shaker. So you get the idea. Now, where I lifted the original percussion from was I've got Native Instruments Complete, and they've got lots of bundles of, I can't remember what they call them. It's the I should know. Hang on, bear with me. I'm going to look what they're called. I cut that there, but it took me ages to find it. They're called expansions, and basically what they are is they're kind of like loop packs, but they all bundle together to make particular tracks, and they're a lot of sort of dance music orientated, but they have some bits that are live instruments. And when I was doing this, is before I got the Yurt Rock thing, I looked through for the percussion stuff, and it's good. You can time stretch it as you can with the Yurt Rock stuff, time stretch it in your sequencer. So I kept these because I liked the ones that I found, so there was no point finding them again. So let me just play you what I've got to begin with. It's this conga pattern. If I pressed solo rather than mute, we'd get what we need. Here we go. So I've got that conga part, and then a shaker. And then, let me just show you it here. I've got a tambourine as well. I quite like the sort of tension because that feels slightly more swung than the other ones, but it works well together. And then I had this cowbell. Now I have to admit I was never completely happy with this, but I couldn't really find a cowbell that I was after. So this is the cowbell that came with the let me play solo it that I found in this expansion, which actually doesn't sound like a cowbell at all to me. I wanted that more traditional cowbell thing. So I was just building this. I thought, hang on a minute, there's a whole percussion thing that I've downloaded in Yurt Rock. So I went to have a listen, and I found this great cowbell pattern. Which was exactly what I wanted. And then, so let me play you this. So then I bring the cowbell in after 4 bars, and I have to say that for me, this cowbell part really lifted it, because it's well, I guess they're all played live, but just that live feel and that sort of slight tension between the different live feels. And then with the tambourine as well. If I take the cowbell out, you can see how much difference it makes. It was like the icing on the cake. So I'll take it out. So there we are. I really like that. For me, that kind of made the track. So there we are. That's another thumbs up for Yurt Rock. And the second thing I used it for this week, this was another one of my tracks that I've written and I'm recording. I actually, just before I started filming this video, I had a Yurt Rock ad pop up on Facebook or Instagram, and I think it's Charlie Hunter, the guitarist, who's done some of the loop things with the drummer and the loop pedal tracks as well. And at the end of my last video, I'll stick on the end of this video as well, actually, I was just jamming along to his backing tracks. It's great. He plays bass and rhythm at the same time with a drummer. And I think it's him on this advert saying how, you know, practicing and playing along with these loops rather than just a metronome is a great way of sort of solidifying your feel. And I kind of used it in that way. This was before I saw that ad. I wanted to lay down the acoustic guitar. This is a kind of country song, and I wanted to lay down the acoustic guitar parts, 2 different acoustic guitar parts, 1 capoed, so they're just different voicings. And sometimes I think the drums that I want to end up with are much simpler in the production. In the end, I kind of want to, but just playing along with that in certain contexts, for more energy and a certain feel, it's nice to play along with a busier drum part that's got a suitable feel, because you can play off it. That's what I think anyway. Not everyone thinks the same thing. So what I did, I got the Clyde Stubblefield drum part, and I loaded it up. It's this one, the original. I stretched it to the right tempo, I think. Did I change the tempo? Yes. So it was 85 originally, so I slowed it down to 67. And it was. I'm not going to use this in the final thing. This is just a different example of how I can use it. So it didn't matter if we lost a bit of quality, although it still sounds all right. So that's the drum pattern. And then I laid down, this is the first acoustic guitar part with those drums. My pedal's still snuck in there. I haven't processed the acoustic guitar at all, that's just raw through the microphone. So that was the first part. And then it gets onto the more rhythmy part. So I just find with this, let me just turn the guitars up a little bit, that it just means, because there's more going on with the drums, it helps define the feel and those sort of the way that the beat is split up. It's just, for me, it felt more natural playing that. And then, so I added the second part. Let's play that from the start. Then the rhythmy part. And this just made it feel much nicer. So if you listen without the drums, you can, if I'd have tried doing that without any rhythm, it would have been really hard. Or say, for example, with this, I just wouldn't have got the same feel, or I wouldn't have got as locked in with those 2 guitar parts. But as I say, I'm not going to use those drums in the end, because that's not the right style for the drums. So this is what I've got for that part of the track so far. I mean, this is nowhere near finished. This is a work in progress, but this is just to show you an example of how I'm using it. So this is how I've got the drums ultimately. I'll turn that click off. And to get that feel, because it was the first thing I laid down, the acoustic guitar, if I'd have been doing it over the drums that I've settled on, it would have been much harder to get that feel, because the drums are not doing much. If you listen, this is what it would have been like. There we are. That's a different use of it. Really handy. Just drag and drop, drag it to the right thing. There's so many different types of drum loops in there. Finding a feel, because I mean, that's a funk drum thing, but it's got that nice lilting thing that really worked for this country guitar, acoustic guitar strumming thing. So that was very useful. So I do urge you to go and check out these bundles. They're not very expensive, and they've got loads of stuff on, and they're, you know, even if you're not going to use them in your production at the end, they're great tools and workflow and inspiration, which is, as I mentioned in my video last time, part of the reason I got it is sometimes you get a loop like that and it can inspire you. There's something in it that just triggers an idea, and then you can be creative, use that as a springboard. And as with that other one, you can also use them in your final productions with those percussion things. I just think they're great. They're all so well recorded, and they're all played live. There's some that are more mashed up, but you know, those ones, they're really well produced and they're quite dry, so I can treat them how I want to. There's others that have got lots of effects on, so you can use the effects that they've decided on. So go and get yourself a Yurt Rock bundle. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I urge you to go and get one of these Yurt Rock bundles, because they're not very expensive and you get loads of stuff in them, you know, if it's the kind of thing that you'll find useful. But there's so many uses for them, as I showed you in that last clip. So and they're clearly a company that listens, and I admire that, and I admire they admitted they were wrong, and that they didn't think, well, wrong, they admitted that they were sort of taking the wrong approach, and they're working on improving it. So all good to them. Thank you for watching. I'll bring out new videos 7 PM UK time every Friday, so I hope to see you next week.
Thank you.